Here everybody in the Blue Ridge Hills and hollows around Schuyler, Virginia, was a Baptist in those days. Doris and her family were no different, Baptists through and through. Ma and Pa expected a fine Baptist boy. They had no reason to expect otherwise, until along came Earl, a wild young buck, as folks would say. Nobody paid him or his roughneck friends much mind, until Earl came calling on Doris. She was 18, he 2 years older. They reckoned they were old enough to do their own courting, but that's not how folks at the Schuyler Baptist Church had it figured. Whispers began behind cupped hands. "You hear who is seeing young Doris?" The answer was shocking. "That rascal Earl, that's who." Could Doris's Ma and Pa possibly approve? In fact, they did not. Doris's Pa took his fine Baptist girl aside one evening. He said, "I understand you might fancy this boy. Sometimes what's worse for us looks best. But there are things you ought to know about Earl. First off, Earl comes from a family of sinners. They dance, sing, play card games, and carry on. The boy himself takes up where his kinfolk left off. He's been known to wager and partake of intoxicating spirits. Worst of all, when he ought to be in church, he's seen with a fishing pole heading for the creek." Doris's PA summed it up. "I am forbidding you ever to see that no-account Earl ever again." Doris nodded sadly and went to her room in tears. The next morning, Pa found the ladder at her open window. She and outlaw Earl had eloped. Doris's Ma was most upset, declaring she'd never speak to her daughter again. Everybody knew Ma would go back on that promise, but nobody thought the elopement would last. It lasted, in fact, till death did them part. 49 years later, a testament to their enduring love. Doris and Earl now are together once more in a little cemetery in the mountains where weeds and wildflowers play. For, once upon a Blue Ridge serenade, near 80 years ago, a wild young man got tamed by a fine Baptist girl. Earl said so long to his roughneck friends, got baptized, and joined the Schuyler Baptist Church. He even took an oath never to gamble or drink, and lived up to it for the rest of his life. He and Doris had 8 children, by the way, 8 of them, and called their oldest son Earl Jr., Earl Hamner Jr. One day went to Hollywood to tell a family story that you may have thought was made up. But now you've met John Boys, real Mama and Daddy, Doris and Earl, a Blue Ridge Romeo and Juliet. They wrote their own happy ending. The Depression-era parents that the entire world came to love as the Waltons.